Hey everyone, today we're going to be comparing the Tom Bihn Smart Alec 2.0 and the Synik 26. I recently did an unboxing video for the Smart Alec 2.0 where I shared some of my first impressions, but I've now had more of an opportunity to get hands-on with this for a couple of weeks. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about what it's been like to use it, but also how it compares to the Synik 26, as both of these are going to be really well-built bags with a great feature set, but there's going to be some key differences that you want to keep in mind to find the one that's going to be right for you. So excited to dive in. Before doing so, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danny, and on this channel, we love reviewing popular travel and everyday carry gear. If you like these types of videos and you'd be interested in seeing more, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a lot. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Starting off with the overall aesthetic, both of these have a pretty functional and slightly old school vibe in my opinion. Tom Bihn isn't known for having the sleekest bags per se, but I do think that they're gonna work well in a variety of environments. And so with the Synik 26, you have a silhouette that's been around for a long time. There was the Synapse line and the Synik line, lots of pockets. And then with the Smart Alec, because of the bungee cord that's on the exterior, it feels a little bit more outdoorsy, but both of these I think will still be great everyday carry bags. I've used them for traveling, and so, I appreciate the functional vibe, and I also don't feel like they call a ton of attention to themselves. And then as far as which one is gonna be, best, will really be subjective and will come down more to the layout that you like with the bag. With the Smart Alec, you can remove the bungee cord to give it, a cleaner look if you don't think that you're gonna be using it as much. And then another unique difference between the two styles is that with the Smart Alec 2.0, you have the blacked out Tom Bihn logo, whereas the Synik 26 has the more classic one with the red airplane. As far as the materials, Tom Bihn's bags are known for having excellent build qualities, and that's definitely been the case with both of these bags. I have the ballistic nylon version, so this exterior feels very rugged. It's gonna offer a nice amount of weather resistance, and then you also have really great YKK zippers all throughout. So either one is gonna feel like it's gonna hold up for a long time. They are offered in a couple of different fabrics. I know that there has been releases of an X-Pack Synik. I believe that the Smart Alec may also be released in additional fabrics, but my experience has primarily been with the ballistic nylon, and so far it has held up well across the various bags that I've used it with. Continuing along the outside of the bag, as I mentioned, the Smart Alec 2.0 has the bungee cord on the front, which will allow you to store additional accessories that may not fit on the inside of the bag. So this is a nice flexibility to have if you want to store a jacket, an extra pair of shoes, a tripod, and then as I mentioned, you can take it off. And then at the bottom, they're going to offer the same loop that you can use to clip on a bike light or additional accessories. And then at the top, they're both gonna have a nice carrying handle here so you can pick the bag up. I do think that the Smart Alec's handle is a little bit nicer. It's got some extra padding, comes up a decent amount, but both of them get the job done pretty well. And then at the top of the Smart Alec, you have additional attachment points here so you can clip on additional accessories with a carabiner. You can probably shift the bungee cord around if you want to kind of incorporate it there. And so you just have more sort of external functionality, whereas the Synik, as we'll talk about later in the video, has more external organization that's built in. And then both of these are gonna be able to stand up on their own pretty well. Of course, as with many bags, as you shift the weight around, it can tend to tip forward or backwards, but for the most part, when they've been loaded out and I've placed them next to me, I've been able to stand them up pretty consistently. As far as the capacity, both of these come in at about 26 liters, and I've talked in the past about how much I like this as a backpack size. It just feels very versatile, something that you can use for minimal travel, that can still work for your day-to-day, and it did feel like they can hold a pretty similar amount. The space is distributed differently in the two bags, and so with the Synik having a lot more kind of built-in organization on the front, it can take up some of the space, whereas the Smart Alec, as we'll see in a bit, has that, kind of simpler layout. The main compartment is very cavernous, but generally they can both hold an impressive amount, and I like that even when they're packed out, they never feel overwhelmingly bulky or difficult to manage. I think they can work well as a carry-on bag that you can store in an overhead storage compartment comfortably, and as a personal item on some of the more lenient airlines, particularly if you don't completely pack the bags out, as their form factor is a little less rigid due to the fabric. So if it's not as full, they'll be able to squeeze down a little bit, and so really like the size on both of them. Continuing with the harness system, so far both bags have been really comfortable to wear. They have Tom Bihn's edgeless straps, which are gonna offer a good amount of padding, really soft, comfortable, and then they're not gonna pinch your shoulders when the bag is a little bit more packed out. I also like the contoured shape of these straps, and you have an adjustable sternum strap with both of them, as well as a waist strap that you can remove. And it's a pretty simple waist strap. I don't really use it with these bags, but great that you do have the ability to add it if you want. And so as far as the shoulder straps, very similar between the two options. Where they do differ a little bit more is in the back panel. And so again, both have felt great. I do really like the style of back panel that's been incorporated into the Smart Alec, very similar to what we saw with the Techonaut and the Shadow Guide. So it has this extra sort of breathability due to the ridges that have been incorporated here. You still have that breathable mesh. And so with the Synik, you do have some slight air channels, but it just doesn't feel quite the same as what the Smart Alec offers. One thing that is great about the Synik is that it includes the frame sheet, which is gonna help provide some additional support and comfort. You have the option to purchase one separately for the Smart Alec, but if you just buy the bag on its own, that is going to be a little bit of a difference. And so, I've kind of gotten used to that, and that extra bit of rigidity can be helpful, particularly as we talk about the laptop compartments in a little bit. But even without it, with the padding that's offered here and the straps, it's still been comfortable to wear. And then both of them are gonna offer a luggage pass-through that will allow you to rest them on your suitcase while traveling. Jumping into the organizational options, I've really enjoyed using both of these layouts, and it's great to see the variety that Tom Bihn offers. And so starting off with the Smart Alec, on the exterior you have a couple of zippered pockets, and so these are gonna offer a nice amount of capacity. They're a little bit taller, and so opening this one up, this is gonna be a great spot for a water bottle. And so currently I have my 20-ounce water bottle, which fits in here comfortably. This can handle a larger water bottle, like a 26-ounce Yeti Rambler. As you pack this out with something a little bulkier, it can start to kind of collide with the stuff in the main area. So you'll have to kind of plan out how you use the space, but still offers a nice amount of capacity. You have this snap closure here to give yourself a little bit more security, flexibility, and then you have the O-ring system, which is gonna be something that I call out on both bags. It's one of my favorite things about Tom Bihn's ecosystem, and so having these incorporated on both of these all throughout really increases your options as far as how you can organize everything. And so this one, again, nice amount of space, great for a water bottle. And then on the other side, you have, again, pretty tall compartment. It's gonna have a good amount of volume. And then this one also has some built-in organization, so plenty of space for something like my sunglasses, even with a bulkier case. Something even larger would have fit in here. And then you have another O-ring with the included keychain here, the little lanyard. I have a pen attached there. You have a slip pocket, and then you have a couple of other small slots for a pen, stylus. I have a flashlight in here. And then I like that both of these have the drainage at the bottom, so if you happen to spill your water or they get wet, you'll be able to allow that to dry out. So really nice flexibility there. With the Synik 26, definitely more options on the exterior, and this is a legendary layout. I've talked about it in tons of different videos, and it continues to be one of my favorites just with how many options it provides and then how the space is distributed. And so starting off on the front, you have a couple of quick access pockets, and they do offer a nice amount of volume. I did pack this bag out quite a bit, so you can see that if it's really packed out, some of the things can start to poke up. You can see the shape here, but in general, this is gonna be a good spot for smaller tech items that I'm grabbing more regularly. So I have my AirPods in here, and then you can see the O-ring system start to factor in here. I love the ability to just simply clip on pouches. Here I have just a small pouch that has a pair of wired headphones as well as the charging cable for my tablet and my phone. And so great to be able to just kind of pull that out, and then the pocket on its own is still gonna be easy to get to. And behind that, you have a taller compartment that is meant to be the water bottle area for the Synik lineup. And so this is something that I go back and forth on. I think that it's a cool idea, very unique, and it does help keep the weight of the bag in the center. Now, this can start to cause a little bit of difficulty as far as the space for the quick access pocket, especially if you have a rounded, larger water bottle. It does offer a nice amount of space, and I found that it works very well with something like the slim memo bottle, as that's just gonna make it easier to pack everything out. If you don't wanna use it for a water bottle, you can also store it other things in there, and you have an O-ring that you can pair with a different pouch or accessory if you want to. On the sides, you have two zippered pockets that to me feel like smaller versions of the pockets that I showed on the Smart Alec. And I really like how well distributed the space is here and how easy these are to get to. And so on one side, you have enough volume for something like sunglasses. With a case, you can start to see the various liners that Tom Bihn offers. Here I have the orange one. You have a couple of small slots for a pen, a pair of scissors, and then an O-ring in this compartment. On the other side, you have a similar type of capacity, so you still have a good amount of volume. In here I have a packable tote bag from Peak Design, and then I have the lanyard where I could clip on my keys or a multi-tool or something like that. And then you have a slip pocket here as well. So nice to have some built-in organization while still providing flexibility with what you can store in here. And then at the bottom you have another great pocket. It's going to offer a good amount of volume, nice amount of space here, which I'm currently using to store the handy little thing. This is the smaller size, and there is a series of O-rings here. And so this to me is always paired very nicely, as I can clip both of these on, pull this out, grab what I need to, can slide it back in. I've also used this pocket many times to pair with one of Tom Bihn's DOP kits, and so that also works well. So you just get a lot of different options with what you can store here and with the O-rings. And so I can take that off, and then you can just use it as a normal pocket if you want to. You have your independent volume here. And then as far as the laptop compartment, both of these are going to offer a sleeve that is built into the main area, but you can access it from the side. And so this works pretty well on both bags. Sometimes this side access zipper on the Synik can feel a little tight for a 15 or 16-inch laptop, whereas the one on the Smart Alec is a little more spacious. It's slightly taller, so it could be easier if you have a larger device to use the zipper on the Smart Alec. We'll take a closer look at both of the laptop sleeves in a second. And so coming back to the Smart Alec 2.0, we can get into the main compartment. We have the zipper for the laptop sleeve, as I mentioned, but this is a top loading bag. So you can open this flap up, and then you have just a big bucket of space down at the bottom. And so this is a really cool layout, and you can start to see I have a variety of pouches that I paired with the O-rings just to kind of showcase some of the different ways that you can take advantage of this system, particularly as the layout on this bag is a little simpler, and with the goal of providing you the option to add in accessories as needed. And so if you have a lot of pouches or you prefer to organize in a more modular fashion, you can kind of clip things on and then find them a little bit more easily. And I like that you can just kind of throw them to the side. You don't have to worry about losing them. They're secure. And then you have access to kind of just a spacious main area. At the top, I have a packing cube from Evergoods. And now you can get a better look here at the inside. Again, 26 liters of space. And I have a more typical EDC loadout here at the moment with my Beats Studio wireless headphones. Again, clipped in here to the additional O-rings that have been provided. And then I have just a bunch of pouches. Alpaca admin pouch. I have Evergood Civic Access pouch, 1/2 liter, 1 liter. I have a tech kit from Air. So I put some extra stuff in here just to kind of showcase the capacity that this offers. I have my packable rain jacket, and then I also have the Civic Access pouch, 2 liters, and all of that fit in there comfortably. Didn't feel like the bag was exploding or anything like that. And on the inside, in addition to the O-rings, you also have a pocket at the bottom, which is interesting. It's kind of a taller pocket. Great for something like a water bottle. You can kind of just stand it up there. You can place an umbrella in there, maybe a tripod, or even just a taller pouch like the Civic Access pouch 1/2 liter. It kind of fits in here perfectly with the volume that it provides. And so interesting to put that in the center, which I guess helps keep things balanced. And if you don't want to use it, it'll just kind of stay out of the way. Hey friends, while editing the video, I realized that in my excitement to talk about the O-ring system in this main area, I actually skipped over the zippered pocket that's also included here on the lid. And this has been really great to use. You have the dual zippers, and it's divided in the middle. And so I showcased this a bit when I did my first impressions video, and this has continued to be a really solid compartment. I like that it's, separated, but still offers good volume in each segment. And because you have the dual zippers, you can, access just one of them if you need to without opening it all the way. And so that's a pretty interesting idea. I've been using this mainly to store my laptop charger and cable. So I have my USB-C hub, the related cables, but this is a type of thing that could be good for a portable battery. I can fit my sunglasses in there, so lots of different use cases. And as I mentioned in the first impressions video, the only thing that I don't like about this is that because of the orientation of the zippers, if I'm standing the bag up and I let the lid fall over, it's a little bit more difficult to use this compartment. So definitely much more useful if I'm just kind of reaching in from the top. And still really great to have this with the volume that it provides. And even though this doesn't have quite as many built-in organizational options as the Synik, it's definitely nice that at least this was included here. And then now with the compartment empty, you can also get a better look at the laptop sleeve. And so this is a different style than what I've seen in the other Tom Bihn bags that I've used. You have this Velcro strap at the top to keep your device in place. I like that you have the Velcro here to kind of secure it on itself. And then this sleeve offers a nice amount of padding. It's not as rigid as, some more tech focused bags, but it does feel more protective than the sleeve that's on the Synik and other Tom Bihn bags that I've used. So great to see the update there. And one thing that I noticed is that because this doesn't have the frame sheet, it doesn't really feel like there is a false bottom. So with the way that I have it now, if I drop my laptop in, it does feel like it's kind of making contact. I do believe that with the frame sheet, that would be a better effect. And also when the bag is packed out, it also creates that effect where, everything is loaded out and the laptop kind of stops before it reaches the bottom, but it's not as big of a false bottom as I would like to see, particularly if you don't end up buying the frame sheet. But, still gets the job done here. Easy to get your laptop in and out from the top, which is great, or from the side if you don't want to open all of this up. So always love having the dual access options to get to your device when needed. And so coming over to the Synik, I currently have more of a travel setup. And so you have the clamshell style opening, which allows you to easily pack everything out. And at the moment I have a Peak Design pouch that can kind of double as a dock kit, an extra pair of shoes, and then I have my compressible packing cube from Peak Design as well. All of that fits in there very comfortably, and I'll go ahead and transfer that to the Smart Alec just to kind of showcase how it fits. And so that cube goes in there without any issue. You can toss in the extra pair of shoes, and then we also have the extra pouch here, and you can see that the bag swallows that up without any problems whatsoever. And this is where the simpler layout of the Smart Alec can be beneficial. It does feel like you have maybe slightly more space than the Synik, but this layout is just so much easier to pack out. You have the compression straps that you can remove if you need to, and then you see the sleeve here on the back for the laptop. You can access it from the top. This is a nice kind of mesh material here. It just doesn't feel as rigid as the one that was on the Smart Alec, but still nice amount of space. You can get to if you have a larger laptop, it'd probably be easier to grab it from this section here. It is pulled up a little bit off the bottom of the ground as well. And I know Tom Bihn sells caches that you can pair with their various bags. And so here I have my 14-inch MacBook Pro, and I love that you can actually take these off if you don't want to use it. And then on the other side, you have a slip pocket. So very simple here. Could be a good spot to separate shoes, jacket, other items, and then more O-rings on both sides of the bag. At the moment, I have the Elements pouch here from Evergoods clipped in with just a regular carabiner. And this is one of the things I really like about this system, is that it can work with any pouch that has any sort of a carabiner or clip. You don't have to necessarily buy Tom Bihn's pouches. Their ecosystem is fantastic, so I do recommend kind of exploring that, but it'll work with pretty much anything. And then this can still work great as a daily bag, particularly with this 26-liter size, and it'll be able to handle a pretty similar loadout without any issues. And so I have the Evergoods pouches. I'll go ahead and grab these here. just kind of start tossing all the items in so you can get a sense of how everything packs out. The jacket, the headphones, throw in the other AirTech pouch that I had, and then I can just kind of pile it all in there, no issues. And the last thing that I had in the Smart Alec was this packing cube, and so I can still make this fit, but you can see that I can't just stuff things in without thinking about it the way that I could with the Smart Alec, so I kind of got to make sure that things are organized in a way that I can still close this up, but was able to handle the same things without any issues. And then it may impact the amount of space that's available for the compartments on the side. You can still use them, they're going to be usable, but everything might start to feel a little tighter. So you can see I can still use the water bottle pocket, but you can see the shape coming up. I can still use these side pockets. So that's what I've always loved about this layout, is even though it requires maybe a little bit more kind of planning, it's still very capable even when the bag is, you know, really filled up. You can close it with the water bottle. You still have this section here. And so I think that it's a little easier to pack the Smart Alec with more stuff, but highly capable on either front, which is fantastic. And then paired with the O-rings, you really just have a lot of different ways that you can choose to configure the bag so that you can access your stuff, find it easily, and pack what you need. So, you know, which one is gonna be best for you? As we've talked about during the video, I think because the layouts of the bag are distinct, it is a pretty clear choice on, you know, do you like a top loading bag? I think the Smart Alec is gonna work better there. It's got a slightly simpler layout, but still does a lot of the same things well as far as the materials, the harness. You have the updated laptop sleeve, and then you just have maybe a little more flexibility, particularly if you pack with bulkier items. The open space of the Smart Alec is really nice. You have the bungee cord on the front, so if you're doing more outdoor type activities, that also kind of blends in my opinion. And then if you're somebody who really likes having more pockets that are built into the bag, that's gonna give you a lot of flexibility with what you can store, then, you know, the Synik continues to be one of the most legendary bags in that aspect. And so, you know, I think that's gonna be the main factor in addition to the aesthetic. And, you know, regardless of the one that you go with, you're gonna get something that's gonna offer a versatile size and is gonna be very solidly built. And so that's it. Those are some of the similarities and differences between the Smart Alec 2.0 and Synik 26. Hopefully this video was helpful, and if you have any questions on anything that I covered in the video or suggestions for similar bags that I should check out, as always, please let me know in the comments. And I'll make sure to include links in the description below to the dedicated review that I did for the Synik 26 and the unboxing video for the Smart Alec 2.0. I'll also include links to some of the other roundup videos and comparisons that have featured the Synik 26 and other similar bags that you might want to check out. And if you have ideas for other comparisons that you'd like to see, please let me know about those as well. And I want to thank you for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.